Hey everyone, it's your girl Vidge with my co-host Shia, and this is our sixth episode. Whoop, whoop.
We have a super exciting topic today, which I know a lot of you are very excited for. We're going to be talking about arranged versus love marriages.
So let's just get straight into it. Firstly, neither of us are married, but we are both engaged now.
Vidge actually recently got engaged literally a couple of days ago. So, Vidge, want to give us a little insider scoop around exactly how it happened?
Not really. No, I'm joking.
You're going to have to.
All right, so basically we were up in Bath, me, the fiance, and my sister, and he basically said, "Oh, we're gonna go on a sunrise cruise," and I was thinking, mate, do you not know me at all? Like, I like my sleep. Like, why do you want to do a sunrise cruise? Can't we do sunset? And he was like, no, sunrise is better. So I was like, all right, fine. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. We're in Bath. So I was like, fine, I'll just cooperate for once. So I literally got there and then he was like, oh, I have a surprise for you. And I was like, okay. He was like, we're going on a hot air balloon. And I instantly went into panic mode because I'm so scared of heights. And I was like, how am I going to get on this balloon and actually be able to look at things? But I managed to get on and I was
Well
fine.
done.
I know, but I looked like straight into the distance rather than looking vertically down because I was like, if I look down, then I'll know how high up I am. So I was like, never look down. But it was really, really nice. And then he basically, little poet, he got out a poem that he had wrote and then got down on one knee. It was very cute.
Oh.
I
Did you
know.
did you have any inkling at all?
Yeah, I had like quite a few suspicions just because like my house, my sister and my mum were being a little bit dodge, whispering and stuff. And like
Ah,
yeah, and then my sister like normally she curls my hair when we go on holiday and stuff, but like she was really making sure like it stayed in pristine condition, and I was a bit like normally you just be like firm it and go, but this was like she's paying too much attention to my hair, so I kind of knew, but I didn't know how he was going to do it or when he was going to do it because we were there for 2 days. So I was like, is he doing it on a Sunday? Is he doing it on a Monday? So I was kind of
oh.
surprised, but I obviously I thought he was going to do it on the cruise, but we ended up going on a hot air balloon ride, so I was definitely surprised.
That's lovely. It literally made me laugh where a couple of days before it all happened, you were just like, oh, he injured his leg, so it's not going to happen on this trip. I was literally cracking up so much.
Like honestly, like literally, when I saw all of his mates, they were like, "This boy decided to break his bloody foot," and we were all stressing, and he was stressing. He was like, "How am I gonna do this?" And to be fair, when he broke it, because I gave him a deadline of you have to propose to me by the time I'm 26, which is November. Um, I was like, "Hold up," because the doctor said that he needs to basically take rest for 3 months before it heals. I was like, how are you planning on getting down on one knee now? And he was like, don't worry, I'll do it. And I was like, how are you going to do that? And he's like, don't worry, I'll do it. And to be fair, he did do it. And
Oh, bless him. Do you know what? The minute you told me, I messaged him straight away, being like, how's your leg? Is it okay? Is it happening?
mate, you think that's bad? In the moment when he was getting down on one knee, I went, wait, 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 are you sure you want to get down? Can you get down? And he was like, yeah, I can. I was like, are you sure? And he was like, you're
Oh,
ruining it. I was
bless
like, oh,
him.
all right, sorry. It was so funny. But yeah, he got down on one knee, so it was cute. But I always knew he was going to do a big romantic gesture, and he did. So I was very happy.
That is love. Well done, Rajivan.
I know.
Outdid yourself there. Very proud of you.
Claps, claps, claps.
So yeah, guys, in order to kind of make sure this episode kind of like was as interesting as possible, we have actually asked a couple of our friends and our family who have basically been arranged and asked them some of the guys questions that you guys basically sent us about around the whole topic and what they thought and got their thoughts on it as well. So we'll discuss all of that within this topic.
hmm
So yeah, Vish, since you're a love marriage, you've just
hmm
been proposed, but what's your actual story? How did you guys meet?
So, weirdly enough, I actually know a few of his friends. Like before I knew my fiance, I knew some of his friends, and we actually ended up meeting at a mutual friend's wedding that my sister was there at as well. So it was even more funny because I was like, well, my sister's right here, but fine, whatever. And yeah, like obviously I kind of knew a few people, and obviously knowing his friends, I was speaking to them, and then he kind of was just there and they introduced us and was like, yeah, this is Rajaban or whatever. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool, nice to meet you. He actually thought he was suave and came and sat on my table like very confidently, and I was like, okay, the confidence is
Cute.
is sky high. But yeah, then we just got chatting, and To be honest, the whole night he was dancing with my sister. Everyone thought that him and my sister were gonna get together. And I was like, well, whatever tactic you're using to throw them off me is working. But I don't know if you want to go that far. But yeah, no, it was nice. And then yeah, we just kind of like swapped numbers from then, and that's that's history, really.
That's hilarious.
Nothing too interesting, but everyone, when I tell people, they're just like, oh my God, it's like a Tamil movie. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? Like, you kind of like, and it was like, ah, like angel music. That definitely didn't happen.
It's like that time on
Oh,
film where you see someone. Well, what is it? You get bells. You start hearing
yeah,
bells and like the lights go off and stuff in your head. Was it that kind of an
literally.
experience, Bid? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And the wind randomly came out of nowhere, even though we were inside a hall.
And then someone
And my
started playing
hair was
music
like
somewhere.
flying. Yeah, there was violins in the corner and stuff, like, standard.
Spot on. Your basic story is just magical,
I
through
know,
and
what can
through.
I say? I am living in a movie, innit? What can I
You
say?
are. You are. We'll make a film of this one day.
Oh God, can you imagine? People be like, this is the most boringest movie ever. But no, but what about you? I actually don't know your story.
Okay. We have a pretty. I wouldn't call it odd or unusual. We basically met when I was 15, I think. Mind, this was a very,
Hmm.
very long time ago. We haven't been dating for that long.
Yeah.
Um, but we did meet through a mutual friend. So he's really good friends with one of my best and closest friends. And yeah, we basically met through a mutual friend. Um, but we were friends for like ages and ages. We stopped talking at points. I went to
Oh.
uni, he went his own way. So there were points in life where we weren't talking. And then we met again at like events and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and then we got together when I was 23 years old. And to this day, I genuinely could not tell you how, like, there was no like set moment where it all like changed or anything. It was like a gradual thing. So we don't really have a date. We basically made up a date. Couldn't really
That's
tell
so
you how we got
random.
together. Yeah, because everyone always asks us, I was like, who asked who said it first, and we're just sitting there looking at each other, being like, don't know, don't know.
Don't you have any of like the old chats or something that you could just like look back at to see like how it happened? Or no?
We have chats, but it was just like it was never like a there was nothing to kind of say that it changed at some point. We just continued to talk. The only thing that happens is one day we talked more than usual. And I
Hmm.
think maybe don't really know, to be fair. That
That's
that's
so
our
weird.
story. People find it ridiculous, but yeah, that is our story. We were friends, and then we became more than friends. Um, and yeah, 5 years later, we're still together.
Wow. So wait, so you've known each other for like 10, no, like 13 years.
Yeah,
Oh, so you kind of grew up with each other ish, even though you stopped talking in the middle, but it doesn't count.
yeah, definitely known each other at like different stages of life, which makes it really interesting, actually.
Oh,
Because I think for when you meet someone and you kind of hear like stuff that they did when they were younger, it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
but you're kind of like you got to experience and hear those stories as they happened.
Yeah.
And it's really nice actually thinking about how different both of us were, like just as characters and people, um,
Mm.
and who we are today. Like we're completely different people, and it's quite nice to be able to kind of go, oh, there's two kids like became people who were really good, who were really, really good together, and who were just so much more mature. So it's nice.
Mm. Yeah. That's as
People.
different as you can get.
Yeah. But okay, there's still way more other ways that you can get like meet each other though. Yeah, so the way we obviously met is pretty old school. Um,
Hmm.
but there are so many different ways that people meet each other now. And like I have so many friends who met through dating apps
Yep.
and like social media. I never actually used any of those. I've never tried out a dating app in my entire life. Um, got quite lucky in that I just stumbled across someone I already knew in my life one day. But I know that loads of people have like made incredible relationships through meeting people like on the likes of Tinder, and don't know the others. In all fairness, I know that there's one which you match up by professions, or there's another one which is like brown people.
There's Dill Mill, there
That's the
is
one.
Hinge, there is Plenty of Fish, there is Bumble, there is Tinder, and I can't remember the rest. I think that's the main ones, I think,
I
maybe.
even know stories about people sliding into DMs on like Instagram and stuff though.
Oh my God, yeah, and Twitter. That's a
Twitter,
that's a
yes.
very famous one. Yeah. Oh yeah, he just messaged me on Twitter, and I'm like, Twitter? Who messages people on Twitter? Apparently people do.
No,
I
but
mean,
people
it's fine.
slide into DMs in TikTok in this generation. Like the younger generation. Younger generation, we're
No.
talking about younger generation.
Is that actually a thing though?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
That's
people
so weird.
you meet people on TikTok as well now.
Jeez. Well, well, the app isn't working in America, so I don't know. It's probably going to be just a strictly UK thing now, isn't it?
That's very true. I mean, whether you want to date someone across the borders or not, that's a whole different thing.
That is very
I
true.
mean, you
But
can. I know loads of people who have done long distance relationships and it's worked really well.
mate, kudos to them.
I
Could never
know.
do it. I couldn't. But hey ho. But there is actually so many ways to meet people nowadays because of, technology, internet, and all of that stuff. But I can't lie, coronavirus probably makes it a bit harder.
Oh my God, yeah, like you don't even like people aren't even like going out to events to meet people at weddings because it's like
I
close family and
know.
friends, you know every single person in the room most likely. Don't go bars.
I
Where
know
the hell
people
do you
that are
meet
doing
people?
virtual dates. Like they meet on
I've seen
meet on
loads
the
of people
app.
doing virtual dates, yeah. But I don't think it's the same. Like I
It's
feel like
weird.
yeah, like what if you like meet in person and you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
don't
Plus,
quite
like,
vibe. I don't know.
it's very awkward. Like, for like, when you get into a relationship and then you finally get to the FaceTime stage, that's already awkward considering you're already together. Like, can you imagine having to do that straight away without like meeting the person? I'd
Don't
find that
know.
extremely uncomfortable.
I guess you gotta do what you gotta do in this world. If you want to date,
Yeah,
it's
to be
what you
honest,
gotta do.
coronavirus has cock blocked a lot of things. Might as well just carry on, persevere.
Oh my God, it absolutely has.
Oh God.
Okay, let's move on and actually let's start talking about arranged marriages because I think this is probably where people are more curious. And okay, we know quite a few people, and one of the questions we actually got sent was, how does arranged marriages actually work?
You know what? Like, there's various different ways of how it can be set up or proposed. So I think like it depends on your family and how they want to do it, like how old school they are, if they're like old school modern or like old school. Like some people literally don't meet the person until they're getting married. Like literally like they'll meet them a couple of days before or something. Or some people just meet on the day. Like that's very rare that that happens, but I think it does still happen, but just very low key. Like no one really knows about
Yeah,
that. And then
I
obviously
think
people
it does
lie.
happen as well.
Mm,
That
that's
terrifies
wild.
me though.
It's
Like the
wild.
idea of that terrifies me.
Can you imagine? Like, yep, you don't really know anything about this person besides from what your mum and dad have said, which obviously they're going to sugarcoat because they only want you to know the good things about that person. And then you just go, oh, yep, getting married. Oh, yep, moving in. Nope. I'm sorry, that's way too much.
But like I think one of my main things against this whole point is that you're it's simply based on what's on a piece of paper and
Mm.
like your whole like jargon them which I translates to English as what's how do you explain that in English, Reg?
I think it's horoscope.
Yeah, so how much like your horoscopes align and how you both look on paper. Like a lot of like when you don't meet and you don't interact, you don't actually get to assess your compatibility as a couple. It's a lot more about your compatibility on
On
paper, which
paper.
is what I think that's the bit that slightly scares me.
Yeah, they do like how attracted you to be, like how good your sex will be. Like they look at all of this stuff, and I'm like, that is so cringe. Like my dad was explaining to me the other day, but I'm just like,
That is what your jargon shows.
surely
It is indeed.
it's that's a bit orcs though. Like, okay, yeah, okay, so my percentage is about 90%. That's great, but how do you know that's actually going to happen in real life? That's really weird. I don't know how people can do it. I mean, ratings, full ratings to you guys, but it's not for me.
Yeah, same. But I mean, that is like, I think that's a minority. Like, a lot of you know, a lot of arranged marriages now are very really modern. It's a lot of like, so in my family particularly, quite a few of my cousins have got arranged marriages, but it's very much like it's just dating. It's like dating through an app, except your parents are the app, and
Mm.
they basically do all the filtering and everything for you and
Yeah.
match you up. And then like you meet someone, you talk to them, you meet them up, you get to see if they are someone that you would be interested in,
Mm.
and then you decide. I think the one thing that still I was always like to my dad though, if I was going to go down an arranged marriage route, I was always like, I'm not going for that thing, because a lot of people like a lot of parents, like you meet someone like once or twice, and then like they want you to like give them a decision like straight away.
Yeah.
And for me, I always told my dad, and I was just like, if I ever go down the arranged marriage route, you're gonna have to give me a year of getting to know them first, and then I'll decide.
I
Because for
think
me,
that's
I think
standard.
that's how long you need to really get to know someone.
I mean, even 1 year is not enough nowadays, but yeah, 1 year is, I think that's definitely where the bar needs to be set. Like, you surely can't get married to someone if you haven't known them for that long. But you know what? Saying that, even in love marriages, I've heard so many stories where people have met and within 6 months they're engaged and then getting married within 1 year because when you know, you know. So,
To be fair, I do kind of completely get that with my partner, especially like when we kind of like turn to the other side. Don't know how else to explain it. Like in that moment, I just knew.
mm,
My gut knew before
yeah,
I physically knew, but my gut knew. Like my gut instincts was just like this is the right thing for you.
yeah.
So I completely
So,
get it in that instance as well. Sometimes you don't need a year, but
yeah,
mind, I said this when I was like 18, 19.
okay, yeah, fine.
So yeah, very little experience in life. So yeah, you can meet someone and just it
And
just
just click.
happen. Yeah.
I mean, there is some arranged marriages where, like, I look at them and I'm like, were you a love marriage? And they're like, no. And I'm like, but you guys get on so well, and you guys look like you would have chose each other even if you weren't arranged. So there are some arranged marriages that work really, really well as well, and it just looks like they chose them for themselves. So, I mean, you can have bad arranged marriages and good arranged marriages, but I think like,
You can
you
have
know,
good love marriages and bad love
bad.
marriages that are, it's
Yeah,
just
that's true.
about how you two as people click, whether,
Work.
and I don't think it's about how you meet, whether you meet through an arranged marriage or meet through a love marriage. It's just about two
Yeah.
people.
Mm. I think for us, because we're not arranged marriage, maybe like if you meet that person in a couple of times and your parents are forcing you to give a decision, that sounds a bit overwhelming. But if you click straight away, it's probably not that overwhelming. But then it probably is if you don't click straight away and your mum and dad are like, yeah, 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 we're gonna get you married because the polygamy is good. Yay.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely. Talking of which, though, how did you actually tell your parents?
Oh my God. So I remember I came home and I think it was like 6 months. So yeah, it was like 7 months after seeing Rajaban, and I was like, okay, we both actually decided to tell our parents on the same day. So I told my mum first, and just because my mum was then going to tell my dad, and I was like, I this is the process, this is the procedure I am going to follow, and I'm not going to do anything else. And my mum was cleaning, and I was like, I just came in, and I was like, and I was pacing up and down, and I told my sister, "Can you stay upstairs so like I have some support?" And I was like literally walking up and down, and my sister was like, "Just go and do it." And I was like, "No, no, no, I'm scared." She was like, "Just go and do it." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." I was actually sweating, and I was like, "Mummy, I need to tell you something." And she was like, "What?" She knew straight away. She was like, "What? Why would you say that?" And I was like, So she went, "Don't tell me you have a boyfriend." And I was like, "Oh, this is easy." I was like, "Yeah, I do." And she was like, "Oh no." And I was like, "What do you mean, oh no?" She was like, "No, you're too young." And I was like, "Mum, I'm 20, I'm turning 23." And she was like, "No, I think I was 22 at the time." I was like, "I'm 23." And she was like, "Oh no." Like I think in that moment she just, it wasn't even the fact that I had a boyfriend. She's just like, "Oh, she's growing up," kind of thing. But
Yeah.
my mom was pretty sure. She was just like, "Oh, what's his name?" Said the name. Is he Tamil? Yeah. Where does he live? Ilford. Okay. And then she just asked a few more questions. I think she was more in shock
Be
because she didn't
prepared for a
really.
Q&A, guys, by the way. When the moment you introduce, the likelihood is you're going to get a Q&A with a set list of questions that you're going to have
Hmm.
to answer. That's
Oh
just the
yeah.
way it is.
Oh for sure. I think my mum was more chilled because she was cleaning as well. So she wasn't really like she was half in, half out. But then when she told my dad, that's when I was shook because my dad's scary in these kind of things. But although contrary to belief, my friends will be like, "Well, he's the most nicest man alive," and I'm like, "Yeah, he's nice, but not for these kind of things." Literally, I remember I was so scared, and my mom must have told him, and he came downstairs with a notebook, and he was
What?
ready. He was ready to make notes, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Oh my
this
God,
is
no, this
so
is exactly
scary."
what I mean though. This is like you get those like quite set questions.
Yeah,
That's
literally.
hilarious.
He just went through everything. He's like, "Yes, what does he?" I don't even think he asked his name. I think he said, "Oh, what's his dad's name? What does his dad do? What does his mom do? What does he have any siblings?" I was like, "Do you
Like a
want to know
proper
what?"
background check. This is when
Yeah,
parents become like the CBI or
CBI.
FBI or something.
I
Honestly.
was like, "Do you want to know what he does?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, tell me." And I was like, "Okay." And is his what's his grandparents' name? I was like, "Bro, I don't know." And then he's just like, "Okay." And then is he the same cast? I was like, "Are you?" And I was just like, "Yeah, yeah, he is. Don't worry." And he's like, "Okay, fine." And then I think, yeah, I don't really remember what else he asked. I think after that he was just a bit like, a bit more aware. And he was like, okay. I thought you had someone. And I was just like, no, you didn't. Don't even try it. But like, yeah, there's a massive Q&A. I think that's why we're all so scared, and that's why we did the double live because we're like, "Ooh, we're too scared to tell our parents. We don't want the Q&A. The Q&A is the most scariest part of being in a relationship."
It is. I think for me as well, though. Okay, so I didn't tell my lot until, to be fair, my other half's entire family. When I mean
Mm,
entire family, we're talking about like uncles, cousins, and everyone, I swear. Found
yeah.
out very quickly. From I think he changed like his picture or something. I don't remember, but they all found out like really, really quickly. And they were completely supportive, like straight away, completely supportive
That's
of the
literally
whole
the
thing.
same.
They were so excited, like so excited. With me, I didn't tell my folks for I can't remember how long. In all fairness, I can't remember when I told them.
Was it years?
No, it wasn't years. It wasn't years at all. Maybe after a year. Couldn't tell you. At this
Okay.
point, if anything that I say would be completely made up if I was to give you an exact date or something. But basically, it was when we were having a discussion and they were just like, oh, we're thinking you're at the right age now for us to start looking for you.
Oh
And then
God.
they were like, this is the time that if you have someone, you now tell us you have someone. So I told them. And I think my parents are always a bit like, oh, and I think even growing up, my parents have never been against like a love marriage or anything like that. They've always been like, you know, if he's nice, then let us know and we can figure it out. But they were always like, tell us
Mm,
from the very beginning. But I was, but I, the problem is you can't just tell your parents
no.
because if you're Asian and you bring someone home, you're not bringing them home like, hey, I'm dating this person, getting to know him, seeing what he's like, seeing if we're
Mm,
compatible. It's, hey,
marriage.
parents. Yeah, exactly. And like, regardless of whether you're ready or not, that doesn't matter. That's not in the equation at all. And
Mm,
this is why a lot of people don't really, inform of their parents when they're in a relationship. It's more when they're ready for a commitment. Or like
yeah.
to get married anyway. So my parents were like completely fine with love marriages. It was simply that they were like, oh, you should have told us from the beginning. Um, but you also like, I do think there is an element of it though. So, and I don't know how if you've experienced anything similar. I do
Mm,
find that there's a bit of judgment around people or families or communities around a love marriage versus an arranged marriage. And I feel like people kind of like really respect a love marriage, not love marriage, sorry, really respect an arranged marriage. And like, if your kids are all arranged, it's like, oh yeah, my kids all listen to me. They all married the person I wanted them to, and that kind of thing. But if it's love marriage, it's just like, oh yeah, she found someone.
I know what you mean. I've seen that in other families. I mean, my parents are pretty chilled because they were love marriage as well. So for them, it was kind of like, yeah, we'd rather you choose and find your own person. They weren't really too bothered about that. But I think like, yeah, in other families, 100%, I've definitely heard that and been like, oh, if you get an arranged marriage, it will seem like you're a good child and you've listened to us and we've got a close relationship, so it just looks really good on the family. And I'm like, does it though? Does it really look good on the family? And you know what, one thing that gets on my nerves about that is also like, like, yeah, you're listening to your parents, you're getting an arranged marriage, but when they pass away, it's just going to be you and that person then, and then you have to deal with that.
I know completely how you feel, and a part of me does, like, a part of me is also like, they might actually get over it at some point. Like, it could be a couple of years, a couple of 5 years or 10 years, but like, if you were to go against them and be with someone who made you happy, even though they weren't happy with it because it was love marriage and stuff, they might actually get over it.
No,
And then,
no, I don't think they will, because like I've seen a lot of relationships where like they've been in a love marriage and the parents haven't liked the person from the start or whatever, and they've got married hoping that they'll come around. And sometimes parents come around once they pop out a kid, because then they're like, oh, that's my grandchild, so I need to be involved, and that's when they'll be all cool again. But I've seen loads of parents who, even when that couple pop out a kid, they don't have any interaction. They're like, no, we've disowned them. They're not our child anymore, and then that's that. So
okay, yeah, I know couples definitely whose parents still don't like the, the other half or whatever it is.
mm,
But I mean, if that happens, okay, so here, in my head, this is how I play out how I play out the choices that I think are on the table. You can, if you this is obviously talking about a scenario where you like someone, but you end up going for an arranged marriage because that's what your parents
yeah.
want. So you either end up going, accepting the arranged marriage, and maybe you end up liking the other person as well and it works out and it's
Mm,
fantastic. Or you'll go for the arranged marriage, but then you will be really
yeah.
unhappy. Or you stick it to your parents and go, okay, I'm gonna be with the person I really like, and maybe your parents come
Mm.
around. Or maybe they never do. So either way, you've got a 50-50 chance of both parties being being happy, and a 50-50 chance that one person is going to be unhappy.
Mm.
And you might see as the selfless option is to make your parents happy, but then you will be miserable, and at some point you may end up hating
Mm.
them for all your misery and stuff. And I think it's just worth weighing up all your options, and I think the most important thing is just be with someone who makes you happy, because I'm a true believer of, you'd rather be single and happy than be with someone and be unhappy.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I second that. Very sound advice, Shia. This is a agony aunt podcast now, not even a talking rubbish podcast.
Oh God.
But no, I think another reason why parents feel pressurized to do the arranged marriage thing and girls go along with it is because there's so much pressure for girls to get married in general. Like, if once you hit a certain
Oh
age,
my
it's
God.
like, oh, it's gone from uni and education to let's talk about marriage. Let's talk about why you don't have a man. Let's talk about what you're waiting for. Let's talk about when you're going to have kids. Like, it's just like so much pressure. And I think girls in our generation are just like, oh, I need to find a man because then my parents will be talking about how I'm too old. And then it leads on to the fact that, oh, now I'm too old to have kids because my eggs are dried up and all this rubbish. And it's just like, is it that deep?
Oh my God. No, this whole situation, I find it hilarious. Like, I actually laugh about this sometimes, just because, and I don't mean this in a rude way, but like, as I was growing up, and like completely pre-uni, all my time
Mm,
pre-uni, I was always told, like, don't interact with guys. You don't want guy friends. I was, even when I had like guy friends, boys who were friends and nothing more, I had the entire Asian community being like, oh, look at that girl, she's got guy
Oh
friends.
my God.
And like it becomes this like whole taboo thing. Like there were rumors, there were whispers. Like I went through so much having guys as friends, not even that the guys that I was dating or anything. I was genuinely friends with these guys, and like there was this whole thing like growing up where girls like
Can't be friends with
don't
guys.
have relationships with parents.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like that's what is expected from the community. But the minute that you seem to have a graduation piece of paper in your hand, all of a sudden you're meant to be married and popping out
I
kids.
know.
And I don't know how they think that's like okay. Like, how do you go from like expecting your kids and like children and people to like not even interact with someone
It's weird.
and then to have a full on like marriage with kids with them the next day?
I know. And you know what it is? It's like, when you hit that certain age and then all your aunties, uncles, and even your parents are like, oh, okay, like, you're at the right age to find someone. Like, are you looking for people? And it's like, hold up a minute. Like last year you were telling me like why am I hanging around with guys and why do I have so many guy mates? And now it's acceptable for me to go and have a boy. I don't get it. Like, when did this transition happen? When was I allowed to go now find a boyfriend? Like, I don't get it.
I don't know. But there is a whole thing around the Tamil community not allowing dating.
Mm,
Like I know even with like arranged marriages, you don't really date the person.
yeah.
You kind of meet a couple of times and you have to decide. And like I think my parents found it a little bit weird where I've been with someone for so many years now.
Yeah.
Like it no longer apply. What if they were to be like, oh, you can't be seen in public with them? It's just like, really?
Oh my God.
Like obviously you can't have any of that. So we obviously still see each other. But I know like I know with some of my friends, for example, the minute that their parents found out, it was like, nope, we've got to get the registry done, we've got to get the legal paperwork done, we've got to go tadamada, we've got to do this and that. The whole community has to know that there is a marriage behind
Oh
this
my God.
and this is a secure thing, it's not dating. And I'm just like,
It's not that deep.
me and him are bloody happy. Don't need a piece of paper to do that, to tell me that.
Yeah, I find that so weird. I'm like, what's the rush? Like, calm down. Sometimes they're young as well. So I'm like, they're young, let them live their life. Like, if the couple are like, yeah, I'd rather get married ASAP now so I can go traveling with them, whatever, fine, go ahead. But why are you rushing it? Like, just let them date. Like, is it that deep that they have to go and get civil registered just so society is like, oh yeah, they're not dating? It's just a bit like,
Yeah, but this is the thing, like it's acceptable once you've done the civil registry and you can go, but before that,
hmm,
it doesn't matter even if you're like arranged or if you're love. We don't want people to see you in public with them.
it is weird. But you know what's even
Um,
more weird? Marrying someone you don't really even know well.
yeah, I've had this conversation with a couple of people now actually, and someone did actually say when we were having a conversation, someone, and it was more along the lines of they were like they felt ready to get married and they couldn't find anyone
Hmm.
that they liked, and like she was mentioning like any of the like because where Tamil, for example, she was mentioning how no one that she knew who was Tamil
Yeah.
was like her type,
Oh.
and she knew that anyone that she brought home therefore wouldn't be someone that her parents would be okay with, and there'll be a lot of drama around it.
Hmm.
And she genuinely was like she couldn't find someone who who her parents and everyone would be happy with. So she was at the end of the day, she was just like, do you know what? I would rather my parents were to choose someone, and they know me. They would want to find someone who's really, who's right for me, and they would have done. She literally was just like, my parents did all the FBI work before me. Instead of me going on Facebook and trying to research what kind of boy is
Yeah.
this, my parents have already done this. And I was just like, that's actually so true because I know a lot. I know, especially when you're younger, like your friends dating someone, you're just like, oh, let's try finding out everything about them. Do a bit of an Instagram
Yeah.
stalk.
No, that's
Not
so
even when you're
true.
younger. I would still do that. Any of my cousins who have brought home someone, I have stalked your profile like pictures, by the way, guys.
Mate, I saw everyone. Like, even if a mate's like, all right, I'm going on a date, I'm like, whoop, 1 second. And then I'm like, LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's like no,
I'm like, oh, by the way, they're really
like
smart and they went to this uni and they went for this many years and they did this course and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, but at least now you know, like, what to talk about.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, she was just like I find it so interesting because she was like, yeah, her parents basically did that for her, and then she was just like, do you know what? I'm not going to find anyone. So I would rather, they found someone and or everyone was happy. And I was like, if that works for you,
Mm.
then that works for you. But I just find it such an interesting like point of view.
There's a lot of people that do that, and like, you know what? If you feel like that, then fine. But I personally find it sad because I'm like, have you actually tried? Have you actually tried to find someone, or you just maybe you were a bit adventurous in your childhood that you feel like maybe you can't find anyone? I'm just like, just at least try before you go down that route. That's all I'm saying. That's my
I
opinion.
mean, but then again, I do kind of see it in the point of view, like if your parents were to introduce you to someone, it is just the same as if your friend was to.
Hmm.
It's just slightly more pressured when your parents do it because there's a deadline and a questions of marriage at the end of it. Well, if your friend dates you, it's just more, do you like him or not? But if your parents introduce it, it's like, do you want to marry them or not?
True.
So it's a slight difference. I think either way is fine, in my opinion. I think I would have gone down either route.
I think, I mean, yeah, like, to be fair, like, my parents have always said they wanted someone Tamil, and I always said growing up, like, I will never be with a Tamil person unless I find the needle in the haystack.
I remember this.
So
I remember
I found
this.
the needle in the haystack. And they're not mad about it, so it's fine. But I think, yeah, possibly if I couldn't find anyone that suited them, maybe I would have gone down the arranged marriage route. But I would have been like, you guys need to relax. Like, I know a lot of families who do the proposal thing, they want to know everything that they're talking about. Like, oh, so what did you guys talk about today? Oh, have you done a phone call yet? Oh, have you video call yet? Like, bro,
Oh my
like,
God.
calm down. Like, just because you're involved and you introduce, like, you don't need to be so like involved.
Oh God, that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't go down the arranged marriage route as well, because I'd be like, I don't know how parents
I
would react.
Yeah, I think this is where like your family will play a huge part in whether an arranged marriage would like work out for you or not. Because
Hmm.
mine, if you're obviously in a family like mine where it's more, introduce them. If you don't like them, then
On to
they'll
the next.
find someone else. And
Yeah.
then if you bring someone yourself, then fine, then it'll go down. So it's a lot more like
Hmm.
relaxed, I guess, in that situation. But I definitely know people who are of the more traditional route, which it is a lot more stressful.
Yeah.
And I can completely get why in those situations you wouldn't want like an arranged marriage.
Hmm. I think my parents are chilled. It's just, I think all the proposals that I've seen is mainly the boys' family that are not as relaxed. And I think that's why I would be reluctant to go down that route. But I mean, each their own, you know.
That is really interesting. My other half family are like incredibly relaxed. They're great.
Oh my God, same.
They're so cute. They are so cute.
Literally, I feel like loads of the boys' families are so way more relaxed than the girls' family, just because the girls' family are always like, "Oh my God, society," and the boys' family are like, "Yeah, we don't care."
I think that goes down to like we've discussed this in like so many episodes now. I mean, we've only done 6 episodes, but I'm pretty sure we've talked about this in like 2 episodes already. But you do that whole culture dynamic where like the whole respect and like
Yeah.
so, like the whole pride of it sits in the girl side and
Mm,
the guys can do whatever they want.
that's
We'll do a
true.
whole topic on like sexism
Yeah.
at some point since we keep mentioning it in pretty much every single episode now.
This is turning into a feminist podcast at this point.
We really are.
Yeah, true. But oh, another question is that how do you view love in kind of an arranged marriage?
Oh, so again, we're not arranged.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually asked a couple of my cousins and my friends actually this as well. Um, and I found like the responses I just found so intriguing. Like throughout the whole thing, like one of them was actually like, so when they met someone, they really liked them, and they saw that they were someone that they could at some point fall in love with. And I
Hmm.
thought that was so intriguing. But they got married before they fell in love, but they did so in the case that they knew that at some point when they got to know each other they were like, we get along so well, we get along like on a house on fire, we're really compatible, there's so many things that we both like, and they were like, we're heading in the same direction sort of thing, so they was really good for each other,
Hmm.
but they hadn't had the time to like fall in love in the same way that we might consider the word love.
Yeah.
But then they were like, they were like, oh, at some point we know that we will fall in love. So I found that so interesting because I mean I was always like, oh, you need to be in love before you get married.
Yeah.
But even like my parents, like I know like they're obviously very, very old school. They did it the traditional way, but
Hmm.
they did fall in love at some point.
Yeah.
And if you look at a lot of like older generations, they do fall in love like after marriages. But I just thought that was a whole different point of view that I hadn't really like considered before. Um, but I thought it was so interesting, and a couple of them actually said the same thing, and they said that you get introduced to someone, and you may fall in love with them by the time you get married, or you may not, but you do so knowing that or feeling confident that at some point you will.
Hmm. That's interesting. I think that's where obviously the horoscopes and all of that do play a part, because some people some people are like that, like what you just said, like they're so compatible, they know, okay, love is on the cards. But some people, they don't see it, and they're like, I'm not sure if I can see it. But actually, the horoscope is saying that compatibility wise, we are 80 to 90% or whatever it is. So I'm gonna go with the flow and hope that actually we do fall in love. And a lot of people bank on that.
Yeah. Yeah, but beyond that, like you even find um like if you're with someone who is like a really compromising person who gets along with a lot who gets along with anyone, like it makes it easier versus if you were to get introduced to someone who was like a stubborn little person who wanted it their way and no other way,
Hmm.
and therefore you didn't even they didn't even love you enough to compromise.
Oh yeah.
Like I think that would be the difference. Like the person you end up meeting like plays a huge part.
Hmm.
And like you do actually like interestingly like meet some like I've met people who have been arranged who I thought were like a love marriage.
Yeah.
My I know a lot of people say that about my brother and his wife as well. She's lovely.
I even said that when I
Um
met them.
you did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Like loads of people said it and I was just like, no, they're arranged, and like it's always a really shocking thing.
Yeah, I remember because your sister-in-law was telling me, she was like, yeah, we actually arranged. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah. And I was like, that's mad. But like your sister-in-law was quite open about it, and she was like, yeah, like she was just ready to kind of see like what would happen. And I was like, I'd give you full ratings, mate. Because your brother and sister-in-law are quite young as well. They're not like they're into the other generation where, arranged marriages is the way to go. Like they are still, I'd say they're our generation, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. They're just as cool and hip as me. Um, but yeah, it's so interesting when you see like how they are together. Like no one thinks that they are like an arranged marriage.
Which is nice. But
It is, it's lovely.
so there are plenty of arranged marriages that show actually it can be just as good as love marriages, and you don't need to go the love marriage route. But you know, I think it depends on the person the family, and the family you're going into definitely plays a huge part.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And I think that's something that, do you know what? I think with arranged marriages, that's considered a lot. Like the family that you marry into, that's a huge
Yeah,
consideration for arranged marriage. It's like one of the least considerations for a love marriage. And you don't, I know a lot of couples who haven't considered the family side and family compatibility,
really.
and then who have gone into it and have been like, oh, we're very different.
I think for me,
Um,
like my dad was really like he really wanted to know how the family is, and my dad always says now like if I yell or do something, he's like, well, you need to be careful because you're marrying into a different family, and you need to make sure that they're gonna agree with your views and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what?
Oh yeah, my mum's exactly the same. It's just like when if you're going to see one of the in-laws, it's just like wear the right appropriate length
Oh my
skirt,
God, yeah, don't show too much
do this,
skin.
don't shout.
It, I
It's
think that I think
hilarious.
that's where there's a lot of similarities between love marriage and arranged marriage. There is a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences as well
Yeah.
in the way they work.
And at the end of the day, it's just whatever works for you
Hmm,
and whatever makes you happy.
exactly. That's the moral of this podcast.
Yeah. Basically, you can meet anyone, anywhere, it's through anything,
Hmm.
and maybe you'll fall in love and get married.
and it'll be happy
And
families
maybe you'll get
anyway.
married and then fall in love.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
either way is fine.
Yes.
Yes, I like that.
Right.
I think we summed that up quite nicely.
I think so. I think that about wraps it up for today.
I agree. Um, I actually really enjoyed doing this episode. It was a very interesting topic to do, something quite different that we've not spoken about yet. And that was kind of a suggestion from one of you guys. So please keep dropping us your suggestions on what kind of topics you want us to see. If you liked us featuring more people like we did with our last episode with Prit, we'd be very happy to do that. Just let us know who you'd like to see. You can let us know through our email, which is openbookbs@gmail.com or openbookbs at Instagram, or you can contact us directly. Shia, what's your Instagram?
It's Shea Ventures, so that's SHIYAABENTURES. No spaces. What's yours, Vidge?
Mine is VijBlogs, VijVlogs, all lowercase and no spaces.
But yeah, thank you so much for all of you guys listening and for all of the support that you guys are giving us. And yeah, we will talk to you all in our next episode.
Yeah, see you in our
Bye.
next episode. Bye. And oh, don't forget to hashtag OpenBookVS when you mention us. That's very important.
Yes,
But that's my
it
last little
is.
bit. Bye.
Bye.